Thank you for coming to our press conference. And I'd just like to introduce my fiscal team that have helped with this economic assistance program. I'd like to, of course, recognize our Lieutenant Governor, Josh Tenorio, our CFO, our head of our fiscal team, Bertha Duenas, our Director of Department of Revenue and Tax, Daphne Shimizu, our General Manager for the airport, Tom Ada, Ed Burns, our Director of the Department of Administration, Michelle Santos, our Deputy Director for the Department of Revenue and Tax, Ricky Hernandez, who is our Deputy Director for our Guam Economic Development Authority, and of course, Lester Carlson, who is our Director of BBMR. This is the team that have helped me put together our economic plan to help our business communities. So good morning, everyone. During my State of the Island address, I noted that our island was stronger, in part because we stabilized our government's cash flow, improved our collection rates, and instilled a new sense of fiscal discipline throughout the executive branch. The value of this strength is that now we can call on it temporarily, but uncertain times. That is why I've asked to speak to all of you today. At my direction, and thanks to the hard work and imagination of our fiscal discipline team and agencies key to our tourism industry, GVB, and of course the airport, I am announcing today the implementation of the Temporary Economic Assistance and Mitigation Team Guam Plan. The Team Guam Plan is a 5-point plan built to deliver temporary but immediate financial relief to Guam's economy. No one, no business or the people it employs could predict a global pandemic. No one, no business or the working families they depend on could protect against a viral outbreak that would impede travel and harm the world economy. That is why the Team Guam Plan proposes nearly $40 million in immediate but temporary economic relief to Guam's people and their businesses over a 90-day period. The centerpiece of this proposal is this. A business in good standing may voluntarily postpone up to 40% of its monthly business privilege tax payments for up to 90 days with no penalties or interest. This means more money can be left in the pockets and when you need it the most. Here's how it works. Should you choose to exercise this option, 40% of your business privilege tax due on April 20th will now be due 90 days later on July 20th. 40% of your BPT due on May 20th is now due on August 20th. And 40% of your business privilege tax due on June 20th is now due on September 20th with absolutely no penalties or interest. If you need a little time but know you can make it, this is how we can help. Second, the government of Guam will cover all credit card transaction fees for 90 days from April 1st through June 30th, allowing businesses and taxpayers alike to leverage their credit when it makes sense for them. Third, I have asked that GIDA leverage its existing loan programs to help qualified small businesses with access to short-term capital, also pushing back initial loan payments to those clients by 90 days on a voluntary basis. Fourth, I have recommended that the Guam International Airport Authority and its board of directors work on a rebate of a percentage of landing and apron fees for all carriers serving Guam for a 90-day period. And lastly, I've asked that GPA and GWA offer payment plans to individuals and residents whose jobs or work hours have been harmed because of COVID-19 and its impact to our economy. These actions were chosen because they can each provide economic relief now, without the complexities of the legislative process. And we can sustain the Team Guam plan temporarily because our fiscal management and discipline has given us the ability to respond with immediacy and effectiveness. The Team Guam plan will also include increased government austerity managed by BBMR and DOA. Taken together, the Team Guam plan is a comprehensive set of actions that will help individuals, families, and businesses weather this viral storm. Our fiscal discipline team is watching the situation as it develops, and we will take whatever steps are necessary and appropriate to protect our people and their economic well-being. Are there any additional comments from anyone? No? I guess we covered it all. Okay, so any questions from the media?
Governor, can you tell us what kind of impact this is going to have on GovCom services?
Kevin, when we were looking at this, we considered everything. We considered what it means. First of all, we considered what is the government's impact as a result of COVID-19. And we extrapolated that over the end of the fiscal year. We considered that we wanted to make sure that public safety, health, education, it continues on without any interruptions. We've considered all of that, and because of our fiscal discipline and fiscal management, we have been able then to weather that storm, to absorb that to the end of the fiscal year.
So there will be no reduction in GovCom services?
Right now, there is no reduction in government services, correct.
So what are the austerity measures?
The austerity measures is that first, our budget for this 2020 has been less than the 2018. So all along, we've been really very disciplined in the spending of our government. We are looking at this as it evolves, and we can make changes as it evolves. But right now, with our collection rates, with our analysis of the impact of COVID, we looked at, when we were doing this analysis, we looked at various scenarios, and we worked with GVB in terms of tourist arrivals. So we looked at what is the impact of government of Guam's revenues at 100,000 less visitors? What is the impact of government's revenues at 200,000 less visitors? And what is the impact of our revenues at 300,000 less visitors and then at 500,000 less visitors? We looked at all of that. We also looked at, we didn't look at the military spending and the military increase of a military presence here, which would help out with our hotels, our restaurants, and so forth. We didn't even consider that. So this is very, very conservative in terms of our economic analysis. So if you were going to say what are the austerities we're looking at, right now we have been able to curtail overtime expenses. As we look at the end of the fiscal year, and as we looked at our budget 2020 and the spending right now, we're able to, at the end of the fiscal year, provide less of a spending.
Will salary adjustments and new hires be affected for GovCom?
There's nothing decided on it. We will hire people as we feel the need is for that public service. So with public safety, which is a great concern, the security of our people out there, we will continue hiring those public officers that are needed at DOC, Customs, at our GPD, and the Guam Fire Department.
As you know, Governor, the CNMI, which is admittedly in a worse financial situation than Guam is, has already implemented cost-cutting measures, including reduction in hours for its workforce. Is that a possibility down the road with this?
As I said, as this evolves and as we see what actually is occurring. Of course, we are going to be flexible based on what is in the interest of our public and the services that are required to continue making them safe, to continue providing the health care they need, and to continue our education, of course, system. So this, as I said, is evolving, but at the moment, immediate temporary help is needed to our business community.
How are you defining businesses in good standing? Who is this exactly offered to?
Businesses in good standing are businesses that are doing good in their business. That's it. And also they look at our business license, they review our business license, they review the criteria. Are they meeting, the necessary obligations that they have to meet for them to remain in good standing in terms of business license? And of course, doing businesses as they move forward.
And have you bounced this off the Chamber of Commerce?
Yes, we just met with all of the key business stakeholders. We met with GHRA, GVB, Guam Chamber of Commerce. We met with the Guam Women's Chamber of Commerce. We met with the Chinese Association. We met with the Korean Association. We met with the Guam Contractors Association. So we have brought together our business partners, and we have presented this to them, and they were very appreciative and they were very thankful. Of course, there are some questions that they asked, and they were answered adequately, and they're actually very cooperative. We are going to work very closely with them to weather this storm. We need that. We need the business community. We need the community as a whole. We need our government to work very closely with all the key stakeholders in our community to weather this storm. I also want to say that we also historically looked at what has happened in the past with the previous HNI, the avian flu, the influenza, and so forth that did impact also our tourist industry. And we looked at those numbers to guide us along as to what we think is the best at this time to provide a temporary relief for our business community. And what we're seeing is that during those period of time, the highest decrease in visitor arrivals was 150,000. So we are even doubly conservative by analyzing it through a 300,000 decrease of tourist arrivals.
40 million is your relief package, but what is the total estimate for the cost or the damage done to Gov Guam?
We are estimating about $31.7 million.
Is that to date?
Yes. No. As we move on forward towards the end of the fiscal year.
And that's based on how much?
Or the 3 quarters, yes.
How much of a loss?
3 quarters of the withholding, the BPT, right? And the hotel occupancy tax.
So you're providing 40 million in relief with a projected loss of only 31
We're
million?
projecting a $40 million packet, right? I mean, it's not a set in stone, but that's what we are being able to say to them. We can look at this is what we're thinking the cost is. It may change, and also the impact may also change depending on what the first 3 months look like.
And that 31 million is from here to the end of the fiscal year?
I think it is, right?
Yes.
Yes, yeah.
Marvick?
What's been the loss in the first quarter?
The loss in the first,
Nothing.
there's nothing yet in the first quarter because we haven't, we're looking as it's projected to the end of the fiscal year. So the first quarter, October to January, October, November, December, October, November, December, there's really no loss there. And then January to February, we're looking at very minimal, if any, because the start we're not really seeing the impact till like maybe the end of February, March, April, May, June, July, August,
Marvick?
Remember, these are estimates, Kevin. They're not set in stone. So as we progress, we are very fortunate that we continue to have no coronavirus on Guam. We're very fortunate that the case that thought was going to be a potential is negative in Palau, and also the one at the RMI is negative. So I think, I know our pandemic plan is working. I know that the protocols that we set in place at the airport is working as best as we can humanly possibly make it happen.
You said you asked DP and GWA, have they agreed to your request?
Yes.
Just seeking a clarification on the 14 million economic package. Is it an actual funding that will be made available, or is this the
It's
time
not a
that-
funding package. It's things that we have control over in government that we can do to help them. So like we can, and we are doing it, providing a 40% postponement of the BPT. And so when you add up all of those, the credit card fees that we're not gonna pay, that you're not gonna pay, if you add all that up, it equates to about 40 million.
So, are we going to be using those 2019 excess funds with a projected loss of 30-some million?
When you say excess funds, it really isn't excess funds. It's funds that have been collected over the projected collections. And that is what is helping us being able to provide this economic help to our business community.
So it won't be applied to reduce the deficit then?
We probably won't, depending on what we need for the reserves, through the reserves, yeah.
Governor, we're just at the start of the budget hearings. Do we need to just toss out the revenue projection and start all over?
No, not right now. I think we'll continue on that path. We'll see what happens down the line, but right now, that's what we're still moving forward on.
So all of the line agencies are going to proceed with the budgets that they've arrived at already?
That's
Going
correct.
forward?
Yes.
Can you walk us through the steps that a business must go through in order to apply for this postponement?
They are, they'll have to go to the Department of Revenue and Tax, and there is gonna be a form that they are going to be providing. It's a voluntary, offer, so if they, want to take advantage of it, they would have to go to the Department of Revenue and Tax. You wanna add
I will
anything?
issue an FAQ. Thank you. Thanks, Governor and Lieutenant Governor, for this, and and thank you for also Bertha for her. Under her guidance, I think our team has been very innovative, and so we're grateful for this opportunity. With regards to the postponement of the BBT, our team has talked about the mechanics of that. Of course, we will be issuing an FAQ that will help and guide the business community. Governor did mention that it is voluntary, so no business will be required to actually do this. This is completely voluntary. The second thing is it's only for certain lines on the Form GRT, so again, Rev and Tax will be issuing guidance on this. You must file your returns by the usual due dates, meaning that if it was due April 20, May 20, and so forth, businesses must comply with that. Governor also did mention that taxpayers must be in compliance, and she also mentioned that that means that with regards to business licenses are renewed, that people are not, they don't have outstanding tax balances, or that if they do, they come to Rev and Tax, and they make sure that they work with our collections team on that. And so that's our mechanism for making sure that, of course, the taxes are actually collected, and that the people that are going to avail of this are in compliance with the tax laws.
Effective
Thank you.
immediately? Do you want businesses to come today, tomorrow, or when does it start?
So Rev and Tax will be issuing guidance within the week. I expect over the next couple of days. As Governor did mention, our fiscal team has been working on this. We've actually activated our own internal kind of task force as well to make sure that we're ready with the mechanics of this. Obviously, we rolled this out very quickly under Governor and Lieutenant Governor's guidance. So, there are certain system things that our team has to also be discussing in-house to make sure that we can make sure that this is done properly, and there's not a whole lot of confusion that's involved in it.
So you don't want people to come down today, you will wait until you make the official announcement to come to Rev and Tax, is that right?
Absolutely, yes, and because right now, again, Governor is just rolling this out, our team also is just gonna be briefed on this, obviously, a lot of the discussions had to be done internally with the fiscal team, and so, I only have a select group of our team as members as well who are apprised of this, and this is something now that we're gonna roll it out to the community that we'll be sharing with our whole team at Rev and Tax today. Thank you.
This economic package does not require legislative action.
No, it does not.
Senator
Under our administration, we have the authority to do so.
Senator Morgan just filed a bill where he reiterated his call for a rollback of BPP from 5 to 4%. Are you?
I'm not, of course, supportive of that. I think our economic package is much more reasonable and rational, and it takes into consideration sustainability of our ability to provide the necessary financing and funds for our public services as needed.
Will there be a delay in tax refunds?
No, I don't think so. No, right, Ed? We're okay, yeah.
But none have been issued yet for 2019 here, right?
No, we're trying to finish out the one. I also want to make sure that in the whole scheme of our economy, that we also depend on military spending and we also depend on government spending. So those are all the moving parts also that we need to look at to balance out our economy and to help weather this viral storm.
Are bond covenants impacted by this?
No, they're not. We made sure. Yeah.
Has the government tracked the figure on economic losses as a result of the economic?
I think we did, right, Bert, the economic? We were putting measurement, it's based on the tourist arrival, it's based on the tourist spending, and it's based on the occupancy tax. So I think we were figuring about $627 or something in spending per tourist. And so we figured all that out based on the 300,000 visitor arrivals, yeah.
Is there an initial figure?
No. Just do the math, Vic. I know, but 627 times 300,000.
How can we be sure, or so sure, that there are no COVID-19 cases on Guam right now when we're not capable of doing and have not done any testing?
Yeah. So, we can be as sure as we can based on our monitoring and based on our ability to assess suspected cases, right? So if they appear before the emergency room and the doctor thinks that, hey, this might be a suspected case, they would call the public health, and the team will come out and they would do their assessment. We are as sure as the guidelines are as sure. So we follow the guidelines. If the guidelines don't make that person eligible, then they're not a person under investigation. So we just continue to say to our people, the surety in this is your own personal responsibility. Wash your hands. When you're sick, stay home. Don't go anywhere. Get as less contact as possible to your to other people, and if you think something is physically unhealthy and wrong with your breathing and so forth, then please go to the doctor immediately. And so far, it's worked. Am I 100% sure? There is no system or program that's going to be 100% sure. But we refine it as we go along, and we make it as best as we can based on standards and protocols and guidelines given to us through CDC, World Health Organization, international health agencies, and of course our Department of Health and Human Services. And we continue to communicate very closely with our federal agencies. I'm in a weekly conference call meeting with Vice President Pence and all the other 50 governors of the 50 states and of course the territories. And it's there that we share experiences, and they provide us with update. As you know, there's an $8.1 billion emergency package that has just been, I think, signed by the president. That's going to be impacted. I'm sure tomorrow's conference call will give us more details about that money. But we are included, and that is the one thing I had asked them. Please don't forget the territories, because sometimes they don't mention the territories, and then it doesn't seem clear that the territories are also included. But in this bill, territories are mentioned.
We have to apply for that though, right? There's not a set aside for Guam in that bill. is there?
No, but I think there's a provision there that says every state and territories will have at least $4 million.
You said you were applying for that COVID package, so have we submitted the request or?
We're working with our federal agencies. They're the ones that would guide us, and yes, we have made application. We have sent the White House officials the projected cost and impact that will be for Guam during this period.
There was talk about an initiative to put nurses at the airport.
Yes.
I don't know if that includes the Port Authority of Guam as well. But where are the nurses coming from?
So when you renew, and I know this because I renewed my license, when you renew your license as a nurse, there's a form there that they ask you, in times of crisis and emergencies, would you be willing to volunteer? So the nurses check that, and if you have checked affirmatively, then we put you on a list, and they have called them. So we already have people that are being recruited. I think initially there's 10 already.
Is that from Guam in the private sector or just?
From all over, yeah. Yeah.
The 5-point plan has one thing for the average resident out there, and that's possible defraying of the utility. Is there anything else that the government can do? We don't have, for example, unemployment insurance here.
No, we don't, Nestor, and that's one of the things that I'm trying to work, if some of those monies from the $8.1 billion plan could go towards some kind of unemployment insurance here in Guam. The White House officials know that we do not have unemployment insurance, so we're working with them to see how we can get some of that maybe directed to some sort of help. I do want to say, though, that we do have food stamps, and we have MIP and Medicaid, and we also have public welfare that our temporarily displaced employees could avail themselves. And also, Department of Labor is working very closely also with the private sector to institute, there's a displacement program that they have where they can take these employees and train them for a trade for a temporary placement with other available jobs.
Just to clarify back on the nurse issue, since they're volunteers, will they be compensated
Yes, they will be paid,
at their regular pay rate?
whatever the rate is.
Okay.
And the state of Hawaii, which has an economy that's similar to ours and its reliance on tourism, you said at your presentation before the Medical Association that you didn't see that as necessary at this point, the state of emergency. Are you still?
Not at this point, right.
How will we pay the nurses? Who's paying?
We will pay them through public health. We will give them the resources. They are hired by public health because it's the team that's the lead agency for monitoring.
Have you set aside funding for that, or is it through public health?
Yes.
I'm sorry, what?
Have you set aside funding for it, or is
Yes.
it public
Yes,
health?
we have.
Just a couple more questions.
How much have you set aside?
I don't know off the hand, but there are going to be funds available for them.
Have the test kits arrived?
Linda, in her last report to me, said they should be arriving today. I don't know if they did. I haven't spoken to her. Once it arrives, they would have to calibrate it to the machine, and so she's thinking by next week.
That's it. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.